What's up, everybody? I'm Stella Chung, and this is the Weekly Fix, the show where we round up all the gaming and entertainment headlines you may have missed this week. It's been revealed that The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom will be the largest file size of any first-party Nintendo game. Plus, Xbox has admitted that Game Pass may hurt overall game sales. In the entertainment world, we've got our first look at Lady Gaga as Harley Quinn, and we break down the newest trailer for DC's The Flash. You already know what's coming next. It's News in Time. Nintendo showed us a brand new trailer for The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, and now we have more information that the sequel has the biggest file size of any first-party Nintendo Switch game, which is even larger than Breath of the Wild. Reddit user Bob spotted the base file size of Tears of the Kingdom coming in at 18.2 gigabytes. This was confirmed on the Nintendo eShop. So, to put this into comparison, Breath of the Wild had a file size of 14.4 gigabytes, Xenoblade Chronicles 3 had 14.38, and Fire Emblem Engage had 12.68 gigabytes. Tears of the Kingdom having a larger file size than even its predecessor will most likely mean it's going to be a bigger game, which is going to be super exciting for Zelda fans. But this also means that the cartridge itself may need to be bigger in capacity than other Switch carts. That most likely contributes to the $70 price tag attached to it as the first Nintendo Switch exclusive to go above $60. The Nintendo eShop briefly listed Tears of the Kingdom before the Nintendo Direct, but quickly took it down. But Tears of the Kingdom is now available for pre-order at Best Buy for $70. Since Pikmin 4 is listed at $60, which is set to release months after Tears of the Kingdom, Nintendo is most likely pricing its big games on a case-by-case basis instead of making all future titles $70. Are you going to be pre-ordering Tears of the Kingdom? Let us know. Growing up, we as gamers have always had to argue with our parents that video games don't make us dumb or hurt our learning abilities. But now there's new research that might actually help back up our claims and let us game just 5 more minutes longer. In a study funded by the National Science Foundation, researchers studied the gaming habits of 160 diverse urban public school preteen students who played an average of 2.5 hours daily, up to 4.5 hours. In conducting this study, the researchers looked for any association between the students' video game play and their performance on the standardized Cognitive Ability Test 7, aka COG-AT, which evaluates verbal, quantitative, and nonverbal spatial skills. May Jadala, professor in the School of Teaching and Learning at Illinois State University and the study's lead investigator, said, quote, "Overall, neither duration of play nor choice of video game genres had significant correlations with the COG-AT measures. That result shows no direct linkage between video game playing and cognitive performance despite what had been assumed." The main takeaway from this study was that the results don't show any real detriment to children's cognitive development, except the fact that time spent gaming is time spent away from tackling homework. Jia Zhang, associate professor at the University of Houston College of Education and a member of the research team, stated, "When it comes to video games, finding common ground between parents and young kids is tricky enough. At least now we understand that finding balance in childhood development is the key, and there's no need for us to over-worry about video gaming. So keep up with your homework, figure out how to balance your time accordingly, and you're probably going to be able to convince your parents to play just a little bit longer on school nights." I love the Game Pass deals as much as everyone else, getting day one AAA titles for the price of one subscription, but Microsoft just admitted that tactic has led to a decline in game sales. As reported by GI.biz, Microsoft had included that confirmation in their UK Competition and Markets Authority's provisional report on their proposed $69 billion merger with Activision Blizzard. Within that 277-page document was a small paragraph that revealed Microsoft submitted an internal analysis to the government body that showed a redacted % decline in base game sales 12 months following their addition on Game Pass. While this may seem obvious to some of you, I can already hear the comments going, well, no. This statement actually clashes with remarks made by Xbox boss Phil Spencer back in 2018. Spencer had claimed that adding titles to Game Pass actually boosted sales. So I guess this updated statement in Microsoft's provisional report is the official standing currently. The Microsoft-Activision Blizzard merger is still up in the air as antitrust regulators across the world are scrutinizing the move. Earlier this month, the European Union reportedly presented Microsoft with a formal antitrust warning regarding the deal, while across the pond, the US Federal Trade Commission is seeking to block the merger with a lawsuit of its own. We're still keeping an eye on the merger movement and will keep you updated with further developments. For once, the infamous Dead Island 2's release date has moved up. After a long history of fans worrying if this game was ever going to come out, developer Dambuster Studios and publisher Deep Silver have announced that Dead Island 2's release date has been moved up 1 week. The official Twitter account for Dead Island tweeted, "You asked for it, you got it. Dead Island 2 went gold and it's coming out a week early. See you in Hell A on April 21st, 2023. Dead Island 2 was originally scheduled to release February 3rd, but was delayed to April 28th prior to this recent development. A big reason for this push-up may be due to Star Wars Jedi Survivor announcing their own delay to April 28th from its original date of March 17th. So to avoid launching on the same day, Dead Island most likely chose to move their date up. Smart move. So finally, after Dead Island 2's reveal at E3 2014, it is finally coming out. Will you be playing it? The Dead Space remake has been a hit, and in my opinion, stands as one of the best horror game remakes ever. But enough about my opinions. You made your opinions known by speaking with your wallets. The NPD group revealed that Dead Space was the best-selling new video game in the US in January. It took second place in that best-selling list as Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 held first place again, marking 4 months in a row at the top. Along with Dead Space, the other top 20 bestsellers included new titles Fire Emblem Engage in 5th place, Forspoken at 7th, and One Piece Odyssey in 9th. Along with these new titles, The Last of Us Part 1 saw a jump in this chart as the new HBO show fueled more game sales, pushing the remake from 36th place to 11th. Dead Space's debut, putting it in second place overall, means it had a much better start in life than the Callisto Protocol, which actually debuted in 17th place on NPD sales chart and disappeared from the top 20 list only 1 month after its release. We'll have to see how February sales pan out, but hopefully Dead Space can continue to do well since it did an incredible job of bringing its original story and gameplay to modern-day standards. Sony has revealed even more games coming to the PS Plus service later this month if you have the higher premium and extra tiers. Starting February 21st, Horizon Forbidden West, The Quarry, Resident Evil 7 Biohazard, Outriders, Scarlet Nexus, Borderlands 3, Tekken 7, Ace Combat 7, Earth Defense Force 5, Oninaki, Lost Sphere, I Am Setsuna, and The Forgotten City will be available for premium and extra subscribers. But we're not done yet. Classic games coming to the premium tier include PlayStation 1 titles The Legend of Dragoon, Wild Arms 2, Harvest Moon Back to Nature, and the PS4 remake of Destroy All Humans. That's a lot of games, so I won't break down each one, but here's a few that we think you should play. Horizon Forbidden West came out in February 2022 and is a fantastic follow-up to 2017's Horizon Zero Dawn. We gave it a near-perfect 9 out of 10, praising the combat and creature designs. It's just a shame that, like its predecessor, it came out a week before the biggest game of that year stole all its thunder, Elden Ring. No doubt Forbidden West's addition is to get people ready for the Burning Shores expansion out April 19th. If you're looking for a horror movie that you can play, there's The Quarry from Supermassive Games. It's not as good as Until Dawn, its first title in that anthology series, but it's definitely got that B-movie, summer camp vibe that's super cheesy and honestly kind of funny to play through. Resident Evil 7 Biohazard marks a significant change to the RE formula by being first person and set in one relatively small location with incredibly detailed, almost photorealistic graphics. It's also the beginning of a new story arc in the series and a great starting point for those wanting to get in on this franchise for the first time. The Forgotten City is a mystery role-playing game set in the ancient Roman Empire. The game features strong writing and a compelling story which earned the development team BAFTA and DICE nominations. Fun fact, the game originally started as a Skyrim mod before being completely remade into a standalone game. And if you're looking for something a little more retro, The Legend of Dragoon is a JRPG from 1999 that features classic turn-based JRPG combat, but with some twists like combos and QTE-style timed button presses. Are you gonna play any of these titles? Let me know in the comments. In other news, composer Mick Gordon, who worked on Atomic Heart, will be donating his fee to the Red Cross's Ukraine Crisis Appeal to help those affected by the ongoing war between Ukraine and Russia. In a Twitter post, Gordon said, quote, "My musical contribution to #AtomicHeart will also support a greater cause. I've donated my fee to @RedCrossAU's Ukraine Crisis Appeal to stand in solidarity with the people of Ukraine. If you're able to, please consider donating. Together, we can make a difference. #SupportUkraine." Atomic Heart is a shooter set in a Soviet-era alternate timeline and is out February 20th. And And finally, if you're done cleaning Lara Croft's manor, head on over to Midgar because that's a city that could use some serious scrubbing, especially after Sector 7 collapsed. Via a Square Enix blog post, the latest free update to Power Wash Simulator sees you, quote, clearing up the mess made by Midgar's usual suspects: Don Corneo's lackeys, Professor Hojo's specimens, and Heidegger's dangerous tech. You'll also be working with members of both Avalanche and Shinra in cleaning up Midgar starting March 2nd.
Big spoilers for God of War Ragnarok here, so fair warning. If you're like me, you may have expected Kratos to kick the bucket in Ragnarok, but of course, that didn't happen. In an early draft of the sequel, Kratos was originally going to die at Thor's hand. According to narrative director Matt Sophos, Thor would kill Kratos during their fight at the beginning of the game. Sophos explained in an interview with MinMax it wasn't a permanent death. He would get pulled out of hell essentially by Atreus, but it's now been 20 years have passed. However, this outline didn't stay around for long as it didn't feel right to the development team. Kratos has come back from death plenty of times in previous games. Sophos continued, as we were developing the story, we knew that we wanted it to be one about letting go and changing. Nothing is written that can't be unwritten. As long as you're willing to change, then you're not bound to fate. In God of War 2018, Kratos was prophesied to die, so if he had indeed perished, then that would have undermined the message of the game. God of War Ragnarok was one of the biggest games of 2022, having sold over 11 million copies so far, and was the overall 4th best-selling game of the year. It's still putting up numbers and was the 8th best-selling game of January 2023. Moving on, Bobby Kotick will reportedly stay on as CEO of Activision Blizzard if Microsoft's bid to acquire the company is blocked. This is according to unnamed sources and a Fox Business report. Microsoft is yet to confirm whether or not Kotick will retain his position at the company should the merger go through, though it was reported last year that the controversial CEO was set to leave the company after the deal was concluded. The proposed merger has faced stiff opposition from antitrust regulators concerned with the power imbalance that could be created by such a deal and its potential ramifications on consumers and market competitors alike. Despite these potential roadblocks, the Fox Business sources are reportedly confident that the deal will succeed and that, quote, the only regulatory body that really matters is the UK Competition and Markets Authority, or CMA. This is because unlike regulating bodies in the US and other countries, there is no way for a company to challenge a CMA ruling through law. And so, the saga of the Microsoft and Activision Blizzard acquisition continues on and on and on.
Even though Nintendo upped their production for the upcoming release of The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, Nintendo has admitted their Switch sales are unlikely to grow at the same pace going forward. Can you believe the Switch has been on the market for 6 years now? Crazy. After its financial results were released earlier this month, Nintendo shared the English version of its investors Q&A session. In this session, Nintendo director and president Shuntaro Furukawa said Nintendo is still hopeful that sales could increase, however, through the launch of new games like The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, or from customers buying a second console. Furukawa also went on to say, we are seeing both new demand and multiple system demand for the hardware, so we think there is still room for growth in sales. To that end, we want to maintain a high level of engagement with the hardware and create new demand, not only by releasing new titles, but also by working further to convey the appeal of existing titles. So it doesn't seem a Switch Pro or any new consoles in the works anytime soon. The Switch is still doing really well for Nintendo, having surpassed 122 million units sold, becoming the 3rd best-selling console of all time. Also, Nintendo usually keeps our consoles for around 5 to 6 years, so this isn't completely unusual, especially when you consider the Switch OLED model has only been on the market for a little over a year. Just in case you're not caught up with Genshin news, let me break down what's been going on. I do want to issue a trigger warning for sexual abuse and self-harm before I go into details. The English voice actor for Genshin Impact's character, Tignari, Elliot Gindi, has been accused of grooming underage fans, transphobic behavior, and emotional abuse by moderators of his Twitch and Discord server. The accusations were listed in a 21-page Google document containing screenshots of multiple victims who were asked for inappropriate photos and videos, pursuing relationships with underage individuals, sending sexual content, and so much more. Those accusations were confirmed to be true by Gindi, who admitted that the chat logs and screenshots of evidence of his behavior were in fact real. In his TwitLonger apology post, Gindi confirmed that he engaged in emotional manipulation by threatening suicide if victims came forward. Following this, Genshin Impact developer Hoyoverse has issued a statement to Games Radar Plus saying, "We deeply regret the harm and damage that happened to our fans, gamers, community, and anyone affected. Both our internal teams and external partners, including our voice acting studio, have been working together on an urgent solution. And we will keep you posted on the progress." So it seems Genshin may be considering recasting Gindi, but there has been no confirmation yet. But we'll be sure to keep you updated on the situation as Genshin comes to a conclusion on how to handle this. Sonic Origins may be getting an enhanced re-release. The Game Rating and Administration Committee of Korea has given Sonic Origins Plus a rating. Sonic Origins was a 2022 release of a collection of the first 4 remastered platform games in the Sonic the Hedgehog series for the Sega Genesis and Mega Drive. This compilation was released for PlayStation 4 and 5, Xbox Series X and S and the One, and Nintendo Switch and PC. We're not quite sure what Sonic Origins Plus means, especially with little to no information on what this title would include, but it could be a new collection of remastered games. If we've got any Sonic fans watching, I'm really curious. What Sonic games would you like to see remastered for today? It's time to take a quick break. When we come back, we discuss the increasing viewership for HBO's The Last of Us, plus Todd Phillips has given us a sneak peek at Lady Gaga's Harley Quinn. See you in a bit. Welcome back. DC Studios has finally dropped an official trailer for The Flash, and we'll be breaking it down. But first, filming has begun for the sequel to Todd Phillips' The Joker, with Lady Gaga co-starring as Harley Quinn. Let's check out a sneak peek that was just released.
All right, now we know what Lady Gaga is doing in the upcoming sequel to the Joker movie, with director Todd Phillips giving us our first look at the singer/actress in action alongside Joaquin Phoenix. Now, posted on Valentine's Day, we've got the 2 star-crossed lovers gazing into each other's psychotic eyes, with Phoenix in full-on Joker makeup and Gaga wearing a sweater with what appears to be blood dripping from her nose. Now, Lady Gaga is presumed to be portraying Harley Quinn, but in the image shown, it appears this might be a bit early on in the film, with her serving the role of Dr. Harleen Quinzel. Now, Harley was originally the psychiatrist for Joker at Arkham Asylum until she fell madly in love with the menacing maniac. Now, this photo of both Joker and Harley comes just a couple of months after Phillips revealed this first look at the actor looking rather emaciated, receiving a shave. Now, filming is happening currently in LA and New York, with a premiere date in 2024 on October 4th. Now, the movie Folly I Do falls into James Gunn's recently announced DC Elseworlds category. And according to Peter Safran, quote, "The bar is going to be very high for projects to be outside the DCU, the Elseworlds projects, but every now and then there will be something that lives up to that." And The Joker 2 is looking like it'll be a worthy contender come October 2024. In other news, those Marvel writers are looking to get Tom Holland suited up yet again, with Kevin Feige revealing that work on a 4th Spider-Man movie has begun. Now, talking to EW, Feige dropped some hints at what his team has in store, saying, quote, "All I will say is that we have the story. We have big ideas for that, and our writers are just putting pen to paper now. So while it's likely a ways away, the MCU writers are currently drumming away at weaving yet another amazing Spider-Man tale for our friendly neighborhood superhero." And finally, if you're old enough to remember and appreciate the Calvin and Hobbes comic strips, you'll love what the creator is currently whipping up for adults. Now, Bill Watterson is currently working on an adult graphic novel titled The Mysteries, described as a fable for grown-ups, exploring what lies beyond human understanding. Now, the publisher's description reads, quote, "Hoping to end the torment, the king dispatches his knights to discover the source of the mysterious events. Years later, a single battered knight returns." Ooh, very spooky. Now, definitely a departure from that old comic strip about that stuffed tiger hanging out with a freaking kid. Yeah. Now, The Mysteries hit shelves October 10th. All right, now we got a new look at the Flash movie, and while we're all hoping Ezra Miller behaves so that the movie can finally see the release date, there's a lot to break down from what was shown in the trailer. Now, along with the 2 Batman, we'll be seeing Supergirl make her silver screen debut. Now, the question some might have is, why is Kara in prison? Well, it turns out she'll be filling in for the role initially played by Kal-El in the Flashpoint storyline, which saw Clark imprisoned by the government, where they ran experiments on him for Project Superman. Now, it's been rumored that Henry Cavill's Superman was, in fact, in the early cut of the movie, with Sasha Calle's Supergirl replacing certain scenes that would have originally featured the Man of Steel. Now, given that we'll be dealing within the multiverse in this Flash movie, it's easy to have a universe where Supergirl takes the role of Superman and we see her along with the Flash and Batman take on Zod. Now, with James Gunn and Peter Safran announcing a new slate of movies and TV shows for the DCU, we'll definitely be seeing new DC characters step into the scene. And with Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow announced as a future release, the question some might have is if Sasha Calle's Supergirl will return to reprise her role as the caped hero. Now, the Flash movie has been long in development, with the direction for Supergirl being part of the Flash film already in the works before Safran and Gunn stepped in. But given the story in Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, it's more than likely they'll take a different direction and cast another actor, as the Flash movie and other televised properties have established superheroes can in fact be played by different actors while still being the very same superhero. Now, we've seen it done already in the CW's Crisis on Infinite Earths special when Ezra Miller's Flash ran into Grant Gustin's Flash. Now, with the excitement of 2 Batmans on screen, 2 Barry Allens, and a Kryptonian, the Flash is sure to have DC fans asking a whole lot of questions come June 16th. But feel free to drop any questions you might have right now in the comments. All right, now in other news, the new Super Mario Bros. Plumbing commercial aired during the big game, and you can actually call Luigi and talk to him. Well, kind of. Just take a listen.
Thank you for calling Super Mario Brothers Plumbing. It's me, Luigi. If you need service, please text us at the same number you just called, 92955-MARIO. That's 929-556-2746.
And you know what? I actually tried texting them about a recent clog I had in my bathroom, but they just sent me to a community site to collect my information, likely putting me on like a waiting list to get my clog fixed. But honestly, I can't wait for a clog to be fixed, so I just called up the original Luigi, John Leguizamo. And he got that turd right out of there, and here it is. This was the turd. Y'all remember this turd. Anyways, yes, it's a very fun commercial. Go check it out. And finally, the news you've been waiting to hear, according to Deadline, Velma Season 2 is in the works over at HBO Max. Aren't you happy? I know you're happy. Y'all were hate watching, and your hate watch done succeeded. Anyways, the chairman and CEO of Warner Television Group gave Deadline an update on shows the company currently has upcoming, and the adult animated series from Mindy Kaling was confirmed to be among them. It's kind of odd to hear that since, it seems to be universally hated by the majority of people that ever watched it. But you know what? Well, I guess we'll be able to continue hate watching when Season 2 premieres sometime in the future. Now, The Last of Us has had some competition as of late, going up against the Grammys and soon the Oscars, but it's getting out of the way of Super Bowl Sunday by airing on Friday. Now, even though it aired at the same time as the Grammys, The Last of Us fans showed up for the 4th episode with 7.5 million viewers tuning in. Now, compared to the Grammys' 12.4 million viewers, it's losing that particular viewership race, but still impressive numbers for a new series. Now, those views for The Last of Us have only gone up week to week. Now, it could be word of mouth, with fans obviously leading the charge in watching and recommending it to others. But strong performance aside, The Last of Us would be crazy to air alongside the Super Bowl, which saw over 99 million viewers in 2022. That's a smart move to get out of the way of that long-running televised event. But what will HBO do when the Oscars come around? Now, currently, The Last of Us season finale is scheduled to air on March 12th, which is the very same day as the Academy Awards. Now, last year, the Oscars saw a viewership of just over 15 million, with Will Smith's epic slap being the highlight of the night.
Keep my wife's name out your
Now, The Last of Us probably won't put up similar numbers nor have a famed actor slap a famous comedian, but it'll still do well if it keeps up this momentum week to week. But honestly, these annual televised events aren't necessarily competition for a serialized drama. It's more so just interesting to see The Last of Us releasing at a time where we have the Grammys, the Super Bowl, and the Oscars. All televised events that even if you aren't necessarily a big sports, movie, or music fan, you'll likely be tuning in for the social aspect of each. But The Last of Us is definitely a hit for HBO, as it's already been renewed for a second season and will likely have a third. Now, this is based on what Craig Mazin has stated to us here at IGN, saying that the second game is too large to fit into just one season. Now, The Last of Us has translated brilliantly to live action, proving to be a success for PlayStation Studios. Now, here's hoping we'll see a similar treatment for Prime Video's God of War adaptation. All right, now speaking of adaptations, Amazon Prime Video has taken a swing at Spider-Man with a live-action series based on Spider-Man Noir. Now, Variety got the exclusive with sources close to the project, claiming we'll be getting a glimpse at a 1930s New York City set in its very own universe. And get this, the main character will not be Peter Parker. So who will be behind that mask and trench coat? Well, we'll have to wait and see. Now, Prime Video is also working on another Spider-related series, Silk Spider Society, so it's looking like Amazon is weaving together quite the Spider-Verse on the small screen. And finally, get a load of the Fast X trailer. Check it out. We got Brie Larson, Jason Momoa, and Vin Diesel ripping it up in the fast lane and continuing the franchise tradition of introducing bad guys who were actually involved in the story earlier than expected. Now, Momoa's Dante is the son of Fast Five's Hernan Reyes, and this trailer reveals he was right on the other side of the vault full of his family's money that Dom and Brian stole at the end of the movie. Now, major spoiler, but for a movie filled with literal spoilers attached to souped up cars, it's to be expected. The Fast 10 is looking to swerve into theaters May 19th.
I'm Stella Chung, and that was your weekly fix. We'll be back here next Saturday with more of the biggest gaming and entertainment news of the week. See you then.